Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing. We're approaching 4 years on since the trip I took after radiation treatment that ended up inspiring me to write the book Leaving Cancer for the Circus. I didn't really think about this when I was called earlier this week and asked to appear on a national blog talk radio forum and talk about cancer. The host of the program, Terry Runyon, had been a cancer survivor himself, and I had provided some encouragement in the past for him, and he reached out and asked me to appear on his online program. So I readily agreed, and we revisited the treatment and subsequent trip that I took that ended up in Leaving Cancer for the Circus. It was a nice reminder of it. Many of you know the story, some of you don't. If you'd like to revisit it, or perhaps visit it for the first time. The tables are turned on me this time around on Kansas City Profiles. I am the profile of sorts. It's not wide-ranging. It's specific to that time and place. And that comes up next, right here on Kansas City Profiles. It's presented by Easton Roofing. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice, regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Get a refreshing change of your expectations of a sports bar and restaurant at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Matt Llewellyn's welcoming spot at Clinton Parkway and Cassold covers all the bases, like their own handcrafted beers and all the televisions you need for great sports viewing, but it's the large, varied, and delicious menu that stands apart. From a favorite of mine like the awesome ahi tuna appetizer to great sandwiches, outstanding pizza, and truly fantastic entrees, the 23rd Street Brewery has it all. Matt and his friendly staff make it that much more enjoyable. Food until 10, fun until late. The 23rd Street Brewery is a can't-miss stop when you are in Lawrence.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention, and our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
It is an honor to have this opportunity, too. You and I have something in common. We both survived something that I would imagine was very, very scary. When you had your surgery 4 years ago, Danny, did you have it done in the doctor's office, or was this just a straight surgery?
No, it was in the hospital. It was very extensive surgery. I had a rather odd form of cancer. I had squamous cell a year before, and the thought of the doctors, they're not 100% sure, is that not all of it was removed as it was supposed to be, and a small piece of it lodged in my salivary gland. So my salivary gland, you only have one main one. You have a lot of little ones, so you can still survive. But anyway, they had to remove the main salivary gland and a large number of lymph nodes to make sure that the cancer had not spread. So it was very extensive surgery. It took about 8 hours in an operating room.
And it took 2 times around just basically for precautionary measures then?
Well, the first time was a year before, actually, and that was just a simple outpatient procedure, and it was supposed to be, seamless, and they were supposed to just scrape down until they got the procedure taken care of. Actually, I just did one of those in the past 6 months, but that one apparently was, and they're not 1,000% sure, but apparently was not successful. It was not done properly, so a little bit was left. And 1 year later, as I was covering the World Series in 2014, I discovered a lump on the left side of my face. Turned out to be malignant cancer, so it was much, much more serious than the first time, which was supposed to be just a routine procedure, but it eventually led to the second one.
I see. Okay, how from the 2 surgeries then, how much recovery time did you have or take?
Well, the first surgery was almost no recovery time. I had to wear a bandage for the rest of the day. So it was supposed to be completely routine, which it was, except for the success of the procedure. And then a year later, it was the extensive recovery. It was I did not have to have chemotherapy, but I did have to have 30 rounds of radiation treatment. And so I went for radiation treatment 5 days a week for 6 weeks.
Did I hear you say 30 rounds of chemotherapy?
Yeah, 30 rounds of chemotherapy, 5 days a week for 6 weeks in early February of 2016. Or 2015.
Oh, my goodness sakes. You went to KU for that then, too, right?
Yes, I did. It was there's a cancer center there, which is just adjacent to the main hospital, and I would go there every day. And it was a 10 o'clock procedure, and one of the things I talk about in the book is that I never really was a fan of The Price is Right, but I certainly wasn't after the procedure, because every single day at 10 o'clock, The Price is Right was on while I was in the waiting room waiting for my treatment, which it took about 20 minutes per time. The prep time just varied, and they put a mesh mask that they made, custom made, which I still actually use in book signings as a prop. And they bolt that down to the table you were on, and then they'd shoot you with radiation for about 20 minutes or so, and that went on for 6 weeks.
Well, I am so glad, my friend, that you were able to get away from that. Let's move into talking. Well, one more thing on that. How would you say your life has been different since your surgery?
Well, when I go, I've done a whole bunch of book signings subsequently, including having the opportunity to do a couple at the Baseball Hall of Fame. So it's really been a great opportunity. And what I always say at the end of the presentation is that because I did survive and was able to make it through, having cancer was actually a very good thing. It sounds really odd, but I never would have taken the trip that I took, which was motivated during my radiation treatment. I never probably would have written the book. Well, I wouldn't have written the book because I wouldn't have had a topic to write about. And I never would have met the hundreds and hundreds of people who seem to be very much impacted by my story, including telling it on the radio as well as having it in a book. So, it's still impactful to this day. I was playing golf in a tournament the other day, and a man came up to me and said that he had been very much helped out by reading my book. But unfortunately, you hear the other side of it, too. His wife had just passed away from cancer, and so he had been through that process. She had been in remission, but it went the wrong way, which it certainly can, which is one reason I always stress that I did not beat cancer. I was just a cancer survivor. Others try just as hard and fight just as hard as I did and take it just as seriously and have the quote-unquote courage, and they just don't have the good fortune to make it. So fortunately for me, I still have the ability to be impactful in people's lives because of what happened to me.
You also, before I get into talking about the trip, you were very, very encouraging to me in my episode. So I want to take this moment right here to thank you, Danny. I really appreciate it.
Well, for anybody that I helped out or helped get through a difficult time, and maybe they didn't have the kind of outcome for their family or their loved one, I think maybe I provided a little bit of solace or guidance for people, and if that helped in any way, shape, or form, then I really am thankful that I could provide that opportunity.
I appreciate that. Let's talk about the trip. I had read in the book you had mentioned your least favorite spot from your trip was Hastings, Nebraska, but I didn't pick up on what you said. I'm sorry?
Yes, that was true. That was true. That was a less than inspiring stop on the trip. I will say that, yes.
But I was not able to pick up on what your favorite spot was. What was it?
I think just about everything else about the trip was maybe in close to a tie. Some of the vistas, it's difficult to judge because as the trip went on, you became spoiled by some of the incredible visuals that you got. For people who are listening and don't know, I basically drove from Mayette, Kansas, where I was doing a radio remote at a golf course, and that was the excuse I had for having packed up for a couple of days, which ended up being more like 2 weeks, and I drove towards the Black Hills. So I went through the Sandhills of Nebraska, which has its own great beauty, and then an explosion of mountains as I approached the Mount Rushmore area, and then over the next several days, in driving each day, never on interstates, you'd see these incredible vistas that with each day, I'm not saying you got spoiled, but you had seen great, and then it just got greater and greater, and so I stopped in just little towns, and there was nothing really spectacular about any of the things that I did. They were very mundane type of things, with the exception of two touristy things, which was Mount Rushmore, which is certainly every bit as spectacular as it's cracked up to be, and the Custer Battlefield. So those were the only two sort of touristy things I did. Besides that, I just went to small communities and observed people and drove 4 to 6 hours a day and from one destination to the next, and did all the kind of regular mundane things you would do, like exercise and ride my bike and swim and play golf and things like that. So besides Hastings, which probably gets a bit of a bad rap, it was just towards the end of the trip, and it was kind of a depressed older town. Beautiful university there in Hastings College, so I'll give it those props. But there wasn't, this was an ordinary American road trip that was extraordinary to me and an extraordinary part of my life.
Were you able? You mentioned Mount Rushmore. Were you able to be a part of the lighting ceremony down there?
No, I was there during the day, and in some regards, going to see Mount Rushmore is a bit like the scene in the Chevy Chase movie where they go to see the Grand Canyon and they stand there for 2 minutes and then they go, okay, that's it, and then they pack up and leave. That's kind of what Mount Rushmore is like. I was there for about an hour. It's absolutely stunningly spectacular, but I was there during the day, and I just had a little lunch and gazed out there, took some pictures, and soaked it all in. Actually, the most spectacular parts of Mount Rushmore really are the drive in and out. And there was one thing I experienced that I'd never seen on the way out. You round a curve, and it will say, and there's a sign there that says side view of Mount Rushmore, and right through this crevasse you can see George Washington, and you get a profile view of Mount Rushmore, which I'd never even seen photographed before. And so that was pretty remarkable, and some of the greatest topography that I saw on the trip was on the run into Mount Rushmore and on the run out as I was heading to Wyoming.
Were you able to relax like you wanted to during your trip?
Absolutely, positively. I'm a pretty relaxed person anyway, and I do enjoy my own company. And on these long drives, I love old-time radio and detective shows and baseball games and things like that. But I seldom even listen to the radio during the trip. Oftentimes, I just was alone with my thoughts, and every day was a somewhat similar scenario where I had no real plan each day. I just got up in the morning and rode my bicycle through whatever little town I was in for about an hour. And then I go back to my motel room and pop open my computer and pick out a destination 4 or 5 hours away for the day with no real reason to have it except that it would be large